Hi. I wanted to come back and get more screen time because I'm borderline narcissistic. I'm doing this because Ryan is here and I'm thoroughly going to embarrass you. But I wanted to introduce the next panel because obviously some history, but I also specifically wanted to say like the work that Bayer has been doing in terms of connecting from what we started with like just like, hey, turn this thing around to actually like making good connections with consumers. Like big ups to the team. I shared the story really quickly when I got here, but literally I remember starting to build this in-house team and I got this very nice, but somewhat aggressive in a good way, LinkedIn message that was like, I'm your next biddable programmatic manager. And I was like, sure you are. And I read through the email today and he laid out all the things that he could do to help our business. And I was like, sold, let's have him in. And we hired you. And so I'm very excited to have Ryan come up here and see what he's doing since I left. I don't know your name, but you sponsored, so I should say your name. Jack Hale. Jack Hale. He's from Butler and Till. That's important. That's probably an agency, is it? It's an agency, and yeah, if you need an agency, you should talk to Jack. Anyway, that's all.
He didn't want to introduce Jack. He just said, "Do I have to do him too?" I said, "Yeah, take it all."
Anyway, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
The
I
rest
really
of
could
that,
just leave it up to Josh. That'd be fine.
well, the rest of that story is, Josh, I don't know if you knew Josh, but I had a job offer in hand and it expired in a week. So I'm usually not that assertive, aggressive person, but I was like, saw this Bayer job come up and I was like, wait, this job is better than the offer that I have. So let me just go for it and shoot my shot and see if it works. And it worked out one time.
Ryan is now my personal career consultant on how to pursue new jobs. So hi, everyone. Real quick, I just want to know we're kind of nearing the end of the day. I just want to take a moment to a couple big shout outs and thank you to Brand Innovators for putting on what's been an awesome event. Rite Aid for opening your doors to us and just being phenomenal hosts to us. Thrifty, I'm definitely a believer now in the Thrifty ice cream. My whole family, my wife, my girls love ice cream. I'll be coming home and raving about them. So I'm Jack Hale. I'm Director of Business Development for Butler Till. For those of you who don't know us, we are an agency. We are an independent, results-driven marketing agency headquartered in Rochester, New York. That's way upstate if you're not familiar with Rochester, New York. A few quick facts about us, because yes, their marketing agencies are a dime a dozen. So if you leave with nothing else in terms of what I think makes us unique, we're an ESOP, so we're 100% employee-owned, so everyone in the company is fully invested in the growth of the company and therefore the growth of our clients. We're women-owned, which is big because frankly, research shows that women-owned and women-led companies outperform in terms of innovation and results than their male counterparts. That's just a fact. And then third, we're also a certified B Corp. So, we are really invested in holding ourselves accountable to things beyond just profit in terms of our impact on the environment and society, et cetera, and being transparent with our employees and our clients. So I'm really excited to be sitting here with Ryan today. We had the pleasure of getting to meet last week. And just his background, obviously him being head of social and search ad buying at Bayer for their consumer health business. I'll let you kind of speak a little bit more to your background, but previous stops as VP of Customer Experience at Unified, also Director of Account Management at Tremor Video. And a fun fact that I learned about him in our conversation is that he actually has a film and television degree, and his first job was as a talent agent. So I don't know if that's where you moved, where you were in that, and then sent the LinkedIn message to Josh, or if it was a transition there. So I'll let you kind of tell that story.
No, it was way after that. But yeah, I thought I was going to do special effects in movies and went and got a degree for that. And then through the talent agency, fell into the digital world and ended up going from the crazy entertainment industry to the crazy marketing industry. So thanks. My name's Ryan Gang. I'm working on the consumer health side of the business at Bayer. So finish up that ice cream where, OTC healthcare is a lot of bodily functions. So if you're one of those people that get, queasy, eating and then talking about that stuff, then that's your warning.
Yep, awesome. So the topic of our conversation today is legacy brands and how Bayer is connecting with today's evolving customer, which I think is just a really fitting topic for a company like Bayer. So you guys celebrated your 160th birthday last year. You've got some really well-known and brands that have been around a while. Aspirin, for example, launched in, I think, 1897. So talk about like legacy brands. You guys really embody like a lot of that legacy brand. And then in your role, you're really helping and playing a critical role in helping Bayer to connect with audiences on digital platforms, some of which haven't even been around for 10 years. So I'd love for you to just talk a little about what that's been like, and what your experiences have been at Bayer, and how you've seen Bayer evolve over the years to kind of connect more with today's consumer.
Yeah. my specialty per se is social media, but I do work across all digital media activations for the Bayer brand. So I get to see everything from, even linear TV, CTV, search, retail media, all that. I've heard a lot of common themes from the previous speakers today. There's been a kind of seismic shift in the last 5 years, especially with social media. One example of a brand that people may not know has been around so long, but is anyone familiar with the brand Midol? Yep, mostly women, understandably. Midol was invented in the early 1900s as a dental pain relief drug, which has nothing to do with what it does today. Sometime in the 1950s or 60s, it turned into a period symptom relief medication. And I looked back, Googled some old advertising, and it was misogynistic as you thought it would be. It's having period symptoms is not normal. You need to return yourself to normal by taking Midol. Sally is blue, but Sally is gay when she takes Midol. So that's kind of the old customer. Obviously, I don't think our modern day customer wants to hear that type of messaging. So Midol is a brand where, 4 or 5 years ago, they go and do a ton of customer research and find out that most of the people that know them are of the older generation. A lot of people are being introduced to the brand via their moms or aunts or grandmas. So they went on a mission to really reintroduce themselves to the modern day customer. They did a massive rebrand. Their box, if you remember, it was like a blue box, looks like it was designed in 1992. Did a complete redesign on the packaging. It's very bright colors now, has a big M on it, just to put the brand, forward facing. And then they looked at what is that, teenage to 30-year-old woman, what are they interested in now, and how do they want to be spoken to? And going from, I need to return myself to normal of the 1950s messaging. The messaging now is much more empowering, and it's about, normalizing period symptoms, that this happens to roughly half the population, and it's not something to be ashamed of. Their campaign last year was called No Apologies. They acting off a consumer insight, they found that, a lot of women were apologizing for certain symptoms they were experiencing. And it was about, you don't need to apologize for this, you should celebrate it. So obviously they went heavy into social, and it wasn't a lot of brand first content. You could go to their Instagram. I think they're probably one of the best brands at social at Bayer. It's just talking, educating people about the brand and how it can help, but not always selling the brand. Trying to start conversation versus always pushing from the brand. I think that's something that the consumer is expecting now is, what value are you providing to me? Advertising 20 years ago used to be push your brand, push your key selling points, and try to sell that way. And now it's really about, what value can I create with the brand?
Yeah, I love that. I think I was struck when you were talking about it in terms of the work being done to kind of normalize things and remove stigmas. I think it's one of the coolest things that we've, been able to see in the generation we're in now in our industry, is the role that brands can play into help removing stigmas, whether it's about periods or sexual health or mental health. We're seeing a lot of conversations around that, and I think brands are able to help play a critical role. So that's awesome. One of the things that I remember you talked about, obviously you're not a brand manager yourself, but you work with a lot of brand managers and are helping them to communicate to your audience on the platforms that you do. A lot of them, you mentioned, have vast experience developing campaigns that are historically more designed for a linear TV campaign, but haven't necessarily always resonated on a digital platform, which is a really key thing for brands to keep in mind. Can you talk a little about how you've been able to help Bayer and help those brand managers to kind of adapt to be able to make sure that campaigns aren't just designed for one channel, but they're actually more of a digital first approach?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of people at Bayer come from the traditional Procter and Gamble model. Procter and Gamble's probably the greatest CPG advertiser in history, but things that worked 10 or 20 years ago in that model, aren't working today. a younger brand, but still legacy is, we sell Claritin allergy medicine, and that has traditionally been an extremely linear TV heavy brand for it. I think it came OTC in 2001 or two. So it's about 20 years old, but I'm really excited about the campaign they're launching this year. Instead of going, doing a bunch of TVC scripts and looking at those first, they actually met with their main agency, BBDO, and Meta. So just thinking about the campaign from the bottom up and what's trending in the social world. And Meta has a great, creative lab team that can pull all sorts of crazy insights for your brand. And the idea started from there. So the Claritin tagline for a decade now is Claritin Clear. So the end campaign idea is there's a meme that's kind of been out there for a while, which is so and so be like moms be like, toddlers be like, and it's supposed to be like sarcastic. So this whole idea started with, and it's starting to come into market now, and you'll hopefully see it this spring, but it's Claritin Clear be like. What does it mean to be Claritin Clear? What do people feel like when they don't have to suffer from their allergies? And on social, you'll see that exact language, but then they took it to linear TV, and they don't actually use the words be like, but it's the same construct of the TVC script is showing people doing things, when they're Claritin Clear, and how that feels, and then other people reacting to that. Like, is that person Claritin Clear? Yeah, so they are also, through our Meta partners, they are also able to unearth like little memes that are happening. Sometimes as marketers, we get very wound up with your own experiences or your family's experience or your sister or your aunt. Rely on your agency partners, rely on your social partners, whoever you have, to find out like what your consumers are consuming. So through the Meta team, they were able to find this kind of, we call it a micro trend, but have you ever heard the term like crystal clear? People were making videos and replacing crystal clear with Claritin Clear. Like, let me be Claritin Clear with you. Like, so we did not pay them. Like, this is just, we've probably found a couple dozen people doing this, and it was a very like small subset of our customer base. But I mean, how awesome is that? So I think that's not going to be a huge part of the campaign, but the brand is definitely going to lean into that and make a couple videos that kind of pays homage to those people doing the advertising for us.
That's awesome. Yeah, the idea of kind of flipping it and rather than kind of trying to shoehorn again, a linear TV creative into a social world, but actually listen to your customers, in the platforms they're on, and then kind of use that to let them tell you what they want to, what some of the things that they can talk about is such a great concept. We talked about how, one of the challenges I think that something like that helps for is that the expectations of your customers are so much greater now today than they once were, particularly in the digital world that they're living in. They're inundated with not just brand messaging coming from Bayer and other brands, but all kinds of content that are that they're getting in platform, and they want to be able to see content that resonates with what they are expecting to see in, for example, TikTok. So that seems like it creates a challenge. In terms of now as a brand, you need to think about not only, is my message getting through to them or lost in kind of a sea of content, or on the flip side, you're over-serving them with too high of a frequency. Now you also need to think about, is my message going to be resonating with them in the platform that they are expecting it to see? Like, is it actually going to be something that they want to see and it's part of their journey on TikTok or Instagram, whatever it is? Or is it just going to be another ad? So can you talk a little bit about how you guys navigate that as well?
Yeah, I think that's the huge change that's happened in the industry since COVID, pretty much. The TVC script is usually a linear story and ends at 14 or 15 seconds or 30 seconds. And that's fine, that still works. There's still places to put those ads, but a lot more ads are becoming, consumer opt-in, meaning they can skip it whenever they want. So if you have a 30-second ad that doesn't have a payoff till the end, I can tell you it doesn't work because I've seen all the metrics. people skip it really quickly. So you have to switch, especially I'm not just talking about social, most YouTube ads are skippable. A lot of other platforms are introducing skippable ads. So, and in any social feed, you can skip whenever you want by just scrolling further. So this is a change for a lot of brand managers. The rise of, COVID, TikTok can probably thank COVID as, the reason why it rose to such fast popularity. But 5 or 10 years ago, people were going to social for connection, connecting to their friends, family. It's changing pretty quickly to be another entertainment platform. So that's what TikTok is. I follow maybe 50 people on TikTok, and I rarely see any content from them. It's all algorithm content to entertain you. So we joke internally on my social team. It's like we send each other like the cutest videos, like a little dancing puppy, and we're like, this is what our brands are competing against. Someone sees a dancing puppy to the new Usher Super Bowl thing, and then they flip, and it's a Claritin ad. That's what we're competing against. And they're going to flip by that Claritin ad pretty quickly unless you provide some type of value to them. So a question I like to ask brand managers just provocatively is like, when we're looking over storyboards or anything, I was saying, is this entertaining or educating your target consumer? Because if it's just saying, hey, we're Claritin, we're non-drowsy, we're this, we work for 24 hours, that's the message they've seen for 20 years, in TV. So yeah, steal that if you want. Educating or entertaining your client.
There was an example I think you gave of an ad that involved like a cheetah chasing a gazelle. Can you talk a little bit about that example?
Yeah, so we launched a new OTC nasal spray like a year and a half ago called Astapro. It's an allergy nasal spray. And we launched it. The brand team, they made some really good TVC commercials. And 6 months in, a year in, we saw that the older generation knew the brand very well. Brand awareness was great. But we were really struggling with, people under 50. And I think it was because we went straight to that TVC idea and then tried to adapt it for the younger generation. So they went back and totally redid their whole social YouTube programmatic strategy and really focused on, how can we provide value to these customers? And as a new brand, we really want to educate them. So again, educate or entertain. So one example, I was just in a meeting yesterday with the brand team, and the top performing TikTok piece of creative right now is our agency took some stock footage. Everyone's seen National Geographic, the cheetah chasing the gazelle, through the African Sahara. Our top performing ad right now is just the cheetah has an Astapro bottle over it, and the gazelle has like a pollen dust module, and it just says, tackle your allergy symptoms in 30 minutes or less. The number one claim for Astapro is speed. It works faster than any other nasal allergy spray. So cute little video. Some brand people in the room hate to see that because it's cheesy, but that's what's expected on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, you've seen the lazy green screen, which is like the green screen that's horrible that, but that's what people expect on that platform. So interestingly enough, that ad was middle or bottom of the pack on Meta. So we ran it on Meta too. So that was an interesting insight to the brand of like, hey, this is by far the top performing on TikTok, and it's different on Meta.
Yeah, I love that one because it feels like a little bit of a risk, and I feel like, obviously our theme today is marketing innovation, and it does feel like if you really want to try to innovate in what you're doing, you really have to take some risks and think outside the box. And clearly, especially for your brand managers, it sounds like that was outside of the box for them. But really, that's what you, I think, need to do to push yourself out of your comfort zone if you really, truly are going to innovate. That one is a good example of, you said like entertain or educate, and that was a good entertainment. I think you had also mentioned, and I think this is a really good example of innovating and getting outside the box as well, as on the more of the educate side, you guys had a challenge that you were facing with that, I think maybe the same nasal spray, and found a way to kind of leverage that as well.
Yeah, so in product testing, they had learned that, some people, if you've ever done a nasal spray, sometimes you might get some down your throat. told you we were talking about body functions, but a lot of times they don't taste good. So they knew about that a little bit in product testing, but as soon as we launched it to the mass market, we were getting a lot of negative reviews on Amazon, Walmart, all the retailer platforms. Tons of people were commenting on our social, like, "Oh, this tastes horrible." Like, people were commenting, "This works amazing, but it tastes horrible. I'll never try it again." Like, so one thing interesting, we worked with our medical team, and they came up with this insight of, they said, if you're tasting a nasal spray, you're using it wrong. It's going past your nasal cavity and going down your throat. You're wasting. And then the marketing team came up with, if you're tasting it, you're wasting it. And we worked with our influencer agency and did this whole education series of videos of how to properly administer a nasal spray. And so now you all know if it's going down your throat, you're not using it correctly. Nose to toes, up your nose, and tilt it out a little.
Has anyone had this problem? People, yep, I got a few hand raisers.
Put your head down,
Yep.
put it up your
Now you
nose,
guys-
and tilt it slightly outward that way.
Yes.
And spray. That's
Ryan
the
will be
proper way
available
to,
afterwards for some more illustrations if anyone needs help with it.
Yeah.
I don't think he brought any nasal spray products. Unfortunately, we just have Thrifty and Insomnia cookies. We were talking last week also about just being on TikTok. As someone who works in marketing and works at a digital marketing agency, I actually am not on TikTok. I feel a little old for my agency. I need to be on there just more so for learning about what the latest trends and stuff. But we were talking about how fast the algorithms learn what your interests are, whatever those interests may be. And you were talking about like a really interesting, no pun intended, social experiment that draws some interesting like kind of reactions from people.
Yeah, so we do these internal like trainings at Bayer, and 6 months ago I had a brand manager ask me, "Where do you find stories on Instagram?" So there's all sorts of levels of understanding. So yeah, I was trying to teach people about how the algorithm on each social platform is a little bit different, and I asked everyone to take out their phones. I said, "Great, open TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, whatever your favorite social platform is." And once everyone had that out, I said, "Great, trade it with the person next to you." And it was like silence in the room. They all looked at me. My idea was they were going to see how different their algorithms were and how different the content was. But when I had this realization that the social platforms know us so well now, it's like private information. Like, you don't want to pass it to the person next to you. It's like showing them your emails or your text messages. You don't want the person to see, that you like sniffing cat videos or something like that. By the way, that's a Claritin ad. There's a lady sniffing a cat. Apparently, I don't know, cat people like to do that. I don't know, maybe you do. By the way, Joseph, I want to bring up, you came up with one of our internal secrets. Babies and pets always perform best in all ads. Upper funnel, lower funnel. If I could put a baby or a pet in every ad, I would. And when we owned Coppertone, the brand sunscreen, we said babies, puppies, and scantily clad humans. Everyone always wanted to know why the Coppertone ads were getting the most watch time. I was like, well, there's a guy with a six-pack abs and a woman in a bikini. So.
And study what they are watching, what they want to engage with, and then follow that. For the record, I wanted to do the experiment of have all you guys swap your phones, but then Ryan talked me out of it, so you can thank him for that. Which also gets into like another topic of data privacy. And Joseph and Anthony touched on this a little bit earlier, but third-party cookie deprecation, obviously something we've been talking about for years. I know at Butler Till we've been talking to clients and helping them prepare for it, for what feels like it'll just continue moving forward. But obviously now it seems like it's really happening. So can you talk a little about your thoughts on that and how you guys are preparing for it and just the landscape for Bayer in that front?
Yeah, I think, being in a regulated industry, obviously we have to follow all the laws, and, we're closely probably over, reaching and following things early and as best we can. But the industry will figure it out. Cookies will go away, and there'll be, the industry as a whole will figure it out. I think even with our data partners that we use, we are not concerned with cookies being deprecated because they have...
You okay,
you all right?
Be careful near those windows.
Damn shades.
Yeah. So whether it's the Trade Desk or Meta or data providers like I saw, Oracle in the room, they've all figured it out already and have contingencies for that when that finally does happen. And in a way, I think data privacy is just don't be egregious with your customers' data. People want personalization. I know I want it. I don't want to see ads for things that I have no interest in. I'd rather see you're getting all these services and apps and whatnot for free. The price of admission is advertising, and I'd rather the advertising be personalized to me than just having to deal with whatever random thing they wanted to show me that day.
One other question then.
Wait, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, as Josh mentioned earlier, sometimes being at a brand, you lose that wider field of what's going on in the industry. So tossing it back to you, coming from an agency, how are you seeing your clients prepare for the loss of the cookie?
Yeah, that's a big ball of yarn to unravel, but and we've got strategy teams and programmatic teams that are much more kind of in the day-to-day, but I guess just at a high level for us, again, we've been talking to clients about it for a while, and I think for the first, it's a few different things that we've been focusing on for them. The first one is just, making sure you're building out your first-party data, really just starting with an audit of kind of what data do you have, and where are you getting it from, how are you getting it, is it clean, just really kind of getting that all together, talking to clients about their owned and earned strategies and how you're collecting data from that. Do you have a DMP that you're collecting data in so that you can really start to gain insights about your audiences and your customers that can be leveraged for targeting? So there's that piece. There's also then working on identity resolution solutions. So we've been talking to clients about testing and learning. There's no one size fits all, but different solutions on that front that can help. Contextual targeting, really finding your audiences in the content that will be relevant to your brand. And then just really staying up to date with industry partners. We're trying to stay really close with people like IAB and Resonate, people who are, there's a lot of partners out there who are all on top of this and are helping to shape what the industry standards are. So that's kind of, we're trying to stay really close with them as well. Just going to check on time. I think we have another
Question or for you to finish out.
We can.
Your call.
Yeah. Should we open up for
Questions?
Yeah, we'll
Anyone
open
have
up for questions.
Do we have questions, or should we let Jack take it to his next thing? Okay. Don't talk for 20 minutes now. Okay?
Thanks for the shout out. I just wanted to touch on this a little bit and see if you could drill into it a little bit more. Josh talked about it, like a really great brand marketer has to understand media and data. And you said a little bit that you do some of these education sessions. I'd love to get a sense, like how much are you educating those marketers who are trying to bring creative maybe made for other environments and put it into your world of social, and just how different it needs to look and be so that it actually can perform? I've
been at Bayer since 2019, and that's my day-to-day job is ad buying, but the quality of creative is a large factor in if an ad works or not. So I've been spending 5 years trying to educate them on that. As Josh said, and I know there are some brand managers in the room, they have 1,000 jobs. They go from a creative review to a packaging design meeting to a finance meeting to a meeting with Walmart. They have to know so much. So hopefully they're relying on people like us and their creative teams and their creative agencies to bring them along. But yeah, it's constant. It's constant, like just one-on-one conversations, all the way up to we do full or half-day immersion sessions where we try to make it very interactive. And they're saying to us, this cheetah with a bottle on top of it is never going to work. And
By the way,
then it was the top-performing ad.
I was really bummed we didn't think to actually bring some of these ads. I didn't realize we were going to have AV. So next time we'll.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Let's
you,
give him a
everyone.
big hand.